90 seconds. It was 8:33 a.m. on December 19th, 2017 when I received a phone call. The purpose of the phone call was to inform me that the contract I had been working under for the last 5 years was going to be immediately terminated. I had asked how come, what for, what caused this, is there anything we can do about it? And the answer was, the company has decided to move in a different direction. And I was told that 3 times. Upon hanging up that phone, my clothes began to be drenched in a cold sweat because everything was like a nuclear explosion going off in my life. The tsunami of emotions and thoughts that hit the beachhead of my mind lasted for hours. Everything that I thought was certain had become uncertain. Everything that I thought was safe had become unsafe. Everything that I thought was secure had now become unsecure. And not even the loss of income, which was close to about 7 figures a year, it was the loss of the passion that I had for what I was doing. I was having an impact on thousands of people's lives. We were having an impact all over the country, and that vaporized in those moments. So after sitting with that for a second, I made a conscious choice in that moment that this was never going to happen to me again. Because as the observer in my life, I had noticed that this was a pattern. I had built things to a very high level, and then almost instantaneously, they stopped or they went away. And it was at this point on that day with that phone call that I decided that this is not going to happen to me ever again. And I set out on a 3-year journey from that point to figure out how I was going to manifest the experience of a different experience, of that experience never happening to me again. And that's why I'm excited to be here today to share with you the result of that 3-year journey and really looking into the world and seeing everything that was out there. What was the solution to shifting a pattern in life so that it would not repeat itself again, right? So I'm going to share with you the 5-step method that I believe is taking the personal development world by storm, because I personally believe that the personal development industry is broken. The personal development industry, which I've been part of for 30 years, I've bought all the books and all the tapes, and I've attended all the seminars and spent multiple 6 figures attending that for most of my memorable life. I have always been a seeker of information and trying to apply that information. But what happened was, you get to a place where, are you really living that life that you love? Are you really enjoying every aspect of life? So the 5-step method that I'm going to share with you is going to show you exactly how to create that life that you love and live it now, not at some point in the future. And I'm here to also share with you the fact that you're not broken. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to forgive. There's nothing to heal. And that you possess every single tool, every single thing that you need right now. You already possess it. The issue is, are you aware of the fact that you possess everything that you need now to create that life that you love? So this method for me has really created a well-rounded life in which I have the financial wherewithal that I needed or that I wanted or that I desired. I've created impact. I've been able to speak internationally around the world. I've got an amazing relationship with my lover, my best friend, my business partner. I have geographic freedom. I'm able to work and live where I choose. And freedom is one of those things that has been on the highest, it's the #1 spot on my list of values, just to experience freedom. And that's where I'd like everyone to think for a second. Just get into that observer status, like you're the airplane flying over your life at 30,000 feet, and notice for a minute just what's there. What is your current reality? And not in a judgmental way, but just as the observer to just see what is there, what is existing now. And do your best not to make a judgment about it. Think of it as it's just the current reality. It is what you have created to this point in your life. All of the decisions, all of the choices, everything that's happened to this present moment is just what is now. And if we look back at our lives, we have the memories, we know that hindsight is 20/20. Sometimes we can see the connection of events that have brought us to this moment. And the trick that I'm going to share with you is not to judge it, to just be in a place where you are that observer and you can take some of the skepticism out. We're all skeptics at some point, and not be a skeptic or judging your life and what it's been and how I could have and I should have and I could have done all these different things differently. You're in the present moment, you're in your current reality, and just observe it for what it is for a moment as I share these 5 steps with you. The fundamental problem that we have in our lives is that we're always in the problem-solving reality. When I work with clients, I ask them, what is it that you want? And the number one answer that I get is, I don't know. I have to think about that, or let me think on that for a second. What they want is not on the tip of their tongue. But if I ask them what they don't want, I get a whole list of things that they don't want. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be homeless, right? I don't want this and I don't want that. So what I mean by the problem-solving reality is that we spend all of our energy and all of our time and all of our focus on preventing something from happening. And what happens when you put your energy into something that you don't want? You are giving it energy and it continues to manifest. It continues to be in the space. What I'm going to suggest is that we need to learn how to become the creator. Think of yourself as a creative being. When you ask that question for yourself, who am I? See if for a second it resonates in your being that you have always been a creative being. Now, we've created our current reality mostly unconsciously. So when you take the creator stance, you are taking responsibility for what comes next. You're going to take that creator stance and actually consciously choose what comes next. Choose what I desire and not let the past recreate the future. All right? So that creator stance is taking that position of power and saying, I have a say in the matter. I get to choose what comes next. And I want you to know that success is not personal. It's structural. For however many years you've been alive, you have created what I'm going to call an identity structure. Started from the moment you came out of the womb. I always like to call it leaving the Ritz-Carlton, where everything was taken care of, all your needs were met, and all of a sudden you come into the world and it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? What do I have to do to get love? What do I have to do to get my diaper changed? What do I have to do to get food? What do I have to do to... And all of a sudden, you're making decisions about what it's like here. Now, fast forward to about 5, 6, 7 years old. A lot of that identity has been built. And now take it into adulthood. What if the 7-year-old is running the adult show today? And the choices that were made at that time are really dictating what's going on today. There's only 3 places you can be in life. You can be stuck, where nothing is moving, nothing is changing. You can be in flow on the other end, where everything feels like it's just moving along and things are clicking and the world's got your back, right? But there's this place in the middle that we're going to call oscillating. And oscillating feels like I take 3 steps forward and 3 steps back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And this is where I believe our whole goal-setting paradigm is flawed, because it's based in the problem-solving reality. If I have a new goal, I'm immediately going to figure out the 10 things that I have to do to achieve that goal. And I've been trained to put dates next to them. And I got to do one thing, and I got to do the next thing, and I got to do the next thing, and I got to do the next thing to get what it is I say that I want. Well, what if in the quantum reality that we actually live in, we can just become the creator and say, I choose this experience. I choose this reality. And you put all of your energy and you put all of your focus on that reality and allow it to come to you instead of you chasing after it. And this is what I mean by a revolution in the personal development space, because most of personal development is focused on fixing your weaknesses, focusing on changing something in your life. And maybe it takes decades of psychotherapy Or it takes years of attending courses and reading books and trying to fix some aspect of yourself to get what you want. When you're in the creator stance and you understand that success is not personal, it's structural, and it's tied to an identity structure that exists either consciously or in most cases unconsciously. And then when you notice, as that observer flying 35,000 feet above your life, has my life had patterns in it where I go for what I want, and as soon as I get it, I can put my fingers around it and then it just slips away, and then I snap back like a rubber band right to my original position. The identity structure is like an anchor. So you stretch the rubber band and you go for what you want, and you're almost there, but because your identity is not congruent with that reality, you get snapped right back to where you were before, only to go on the journey of creating it again. That's what I realized in that 3-year journey after that 90-second phone call. I saw events in my life where I had no problem creating success. I had no problem creating situations. Where my pattern was, I was not in a place, in an identity structure, in order for me to hold on to it. I always had to go back to zero and build it again. So the identity structure was creating that experience of life. And that's what I realized and want to share with you some of the most popular self-sabotaging structural identity patterns. What you see here is the top 6. There are many more, and we all possess some of them. But when you look at that list, you may identify with 1 or 2. Something may just resonate with you. And for me, it was I wasn't worthy to hold on to it. My identity structure was I continually had to prove it out. I continually had to show my worth. I continually had to work hard to keep what it is I wanted. The idea of coasting, the idea of having built something and then being able to live off the fruits of that labor was not possible in my identity. So if I'm anchored in my identity and I go build this beautiful thing and I want to stay in that and let's say have some coasting ability, it was not congruent, it was not aligned with my identity. Therefore, the reality of that situation had to snap right back, and in my world, I had to go build it again and go do it again. No problem in the building, was totally able to do that, but I just couldn't hold on to it. So when you look at a list like this, this gets built over early life. You know that a child by the age of 3 has been told no infinite amount of times. So when you're this young child and you're this creative being and you're out there and you want to touch this or do that or go there and experience this, you've been told no an infinite amount of times. And so by the time you get about 6, 7 years old, that identity structure has been built. So depending on what the parental influence was, what the social influence was, what the school influence was, that is what built these identity foundations. And we've all had traumas in our life, we've all had bad experiences, we've all had happy and good experiences. And so somewhere is in the mix that you are who you are based on the experiences that you've had moving forward through this life stream. And now we find ourselves wherever we are in the current reality, and we just kind of have to take some responsibility that it is our choices and our decisions and the experiences that we've had, because we've been a creator the whole time, just kind of unconsciously creating the reality that we've created today. And so we all have the opportunity in this present moment to choose to take that power back, to realize who we truly are, that we are the creative force in our life. Not the universal creative force, because there are other competing forces that are around, but we can be that predominant creative force in our life and choose who we want to be and what experience we'd like to have in life. So here's the 5 steps. Step number 1 is you have to choose. Most people choose not to a true end result. Like I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and they'll come to me and say, look, I have to have this business. This business has to be successful. And I might ask them, why does this business need to be successful? Well, I want financial abundance. I want to be free. So I have to tell them, what you really want is not the successful business. What you want is the experience of abundance. What you want is the freedom. You don't necessarily really want the successful business, but because you've existed in the problem-solving reality, you said, well, I need to build a business first, and it needs to look like this, and it needs to generate this kind of an income so that I can have what I really want. And this is why, potentially, why so many new businesses fail because the owners that start those businesses, that's not really what they wanted. They picked it, they chose it because it was a vehicle that they thought in the problem-solving reality would get them to where they want to be. So what if you took that creator stance and said, look, I would love to experience abundance. I would love to experience a beautiful, loving relationship. I would love to experience optimal health. Whatever it is that you want, and I don't know about you, but I've kind of classified the world in about 3 buckets. There's money, there's love, and there's health. And most human desire is wrapped around going from pain to pleasure in one of those buckets. Less pain, more pleasure. And I always say, okay, there could be a 4th bucket, and let's call it miscellaneous, that if one of your desires don't fit into those 3 buckets, we'll throw it in the miscellaneous bucket. But most human desires wrapped around money, love, health. And so the first step, this is the most important step, is to truly have a true choice. What is the end result that you would love to create? What is the end experience that you would just love to have? And here's the trick. When you know that you're in a true choice, if I ask you, why do you want that? Your answer to me would be, I want it just because I want it. I want it just because I would love to have that experience. You're not doing it because it satisfies someone else's needs. You're not doing it because you think society expects it of you. You're not doing it because you think your family expects that of you. A true choice, a true desire, and that end result goal has to be one that you want just because you want it. So let that sink in for a little bit next time you're choosing. A lot of people will choose by the process of elimination. There's 5 crappy choices. They pick the least crappiest choice. Okay? Or they choose by consensus. Let me go out to all my social media friends and see what everybody else thinks, and I'll pick the choice that everybody else says I should have. Right? And so you go down that road, and if it's not your own true choice, there could be disappointment. So always begin with the end result in mind. The second thing we have to do is we have to create a structural tension in our mind. The mind likes to resolve tension. What do I mean by that? I mean the current reality is here now. The desired reality is over here. The tension exists between the 2 states of mind. So that tension in my identity is the current reality, but yet I would desire something different. I would desire something more. I don't use the word better, because as soon as you put the word better on the future or desired reality, you make the current reality not okay. So having a contentment with the way it is now and just observing that and saying, I'm good where I am right now, I will survive. I'm not going to die being in this current reality, yet at the same time, I choose something different. So that's what I mean by creating a structural tension. The third thing we have to do is have to get into the emotion of that end result. Einstein said there's only 2 things in the universe. It's information and energy. Emotion is the energy. You can have the intention of the true choice, the true end result, the information that this is what I would love to experience, this is what I'd love to achieve. But what needs to go is kind of a little lighter fluid on the fire, is the emotion of what is it going to feel like when I have it. And so this is where anything we can imagine, we can create. If you can imagine that situation, if you can imagine that end result and get into the feeling of it, the quantum reality in our mind, we are connected to everything that is. The molecules of the universe will actually manifest down into that reality at some point. And many people ask me, well, how long does that take? How soon can that happen? My answer is always as soon as possible. Okay? You have to get good with as soon as possible. We live in a microwave society. We want everything tomorrow. This is not that instant gratification game. So you get into the end result, the emotion, the feeling, and seeing it as though that desire already exists. And then the 4th step is we have to do a recode. I call it a recode, which you let go of that old identity. The identity structures just need to be released. They don't need to be fixed. They don't need to be healed. Nothing has to be solved. It just needs to be let go of. And you release this resistance to having it the way you want it. And then when you come out of a session like that, where you're going to your, let's call it your higher self. I like to call it your superconscious. We have your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your superconscious mind. You go to that superconscious mind and say, look, anything that is having resistance in my life, for me, having it the way I want it, please tag it, let it go, release it, and you just make a conscious choice to just let it go. Let it just go serve somewhere else. It no longer serves you because it's not congruent with where you want to be. Fifth step is you have to take aligned action. This is to me where The Secret kind of missed the boat a little bit. Everybody thought they could sit on the living room couch and manifest a Ferrari in their garage or something. There has to be action. There has to be aligned action to where it is you say you want to be. And that's what creates momentum towards the creation and the manifestation of the end result or the true choice. So, to sum up, you must be it now in order to see it in your current reality. If you're in the current reality, you must be able to imagine it, see it fully, feel it fully, bring that into reality in the imagination first. Think of the Olympic athletes and the professional athletes. 50% of what they do is imagining themselves winning. And then, guess what? It happens in the pool. It happens on the track. It happens on the ski slope. So you got to choose your focus. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. And where focus goes is where your energy goes. Now, you're not going to get this on the first try. Your focus will shift. What do? Bring it back as many times as it takes until that new habit, that new pattern is now formed, where you have built a muscle, just like you build in the gym. You're going to build your bicep muscle. You have to build the focus muscle, that when your focus leaves, you rein it back in. And if it takes a million billion times to do that, you're willing to do it because you want what you want, just because you want it. So remember again, you're not broken. There's nothing to fix, nothing to heal, nothing to forgive. You have everything that you need right now to create that life that you love. And the trick is being in that manifestation gate of being truly satisfied with what you have, where you are right now, the way it is now, and not defining the future as going to be better than it is today. The future is just going to be a different experience than you're having today. So the present moment feeling needs to become that future feeling, and we must not try to get away from something or to leave something or to escape something. You're just in that present moment. You make a conscious choice to desire something different. You ask your higher self, your superconscious, to just release it, let it go, that old identity structure, so that you free that up, so you can move into that desired reality and you can be congruent and aligned with that future desired reality. When that identity shifts, the universe has no option but to manifest and but to create that which you desire. So hopefully those 5 steps can resonate with you, and most of the people that I work with are just people that resonate with that message, have tried everything under the sun, want to try something new. They've read all the books, they've been to all the seminars. Those 5 steps, if you practice them, this is not going to happen overnight, and sometimes it works better if you have some coaching in the matter to get through that process and to really identify that true choice. So happy to be here with you today. Thanks for listening, and hope to see you in another session.